we've got the most awesome dragons from these TV shows I've never watched before going up against the Skull Island Kaiju. Now, I'm extremely biased and political, and I'm already pissed off just over the concept of this video, so it's gonna be a good one. So yeah, leave a like down below, subscribe to Goji Center, and let's get into it.
Today on Goji Center, two cinematic universes will collide as we witness Vhagar, queen of all dragons, stop by one of the most dangerous places in the monsterverse, Skull Island.
Oh, damn.
Settling in nature's epitome of hell will not be easy, as this place is crawling with the worst detestable and battle-hardened creatures imaginable. Will she survive, or will Skull Island demote her to the lower ranks of the food chain?
I feel like she's gonna do fine because of the gift of flight.
And let's dive right in. For those who aren't familiar with the dragons from the Song of Ice and Fire, don't worry, we'll give you a quick rundown of what type of creatures we're talking about. In this series, dragons are legendary.
I tried watching this show. I just so people don't judge me. I tried watching it. It was like 20 minutes of commentary and then some really creepy sex scene with like some pale dude. I was like, what the hell is this? This is what people watch for like 4 minutes a dragon? It's just crazy.
Breathing creatures known for their immense size, strength, and longevity. These dragons, like the popular Balerion, the Black Dread, Vhagar, and Drogon, can grow indefinitely, becoming larger and more powerful as they age.
Okay, who named the dragon Drogon? You're a visionary. Okay, I'll stop being a little bitch now.
Provided they have enough food. Covered in tough, heat-resistant scales, they possess formidable natural armor that protects them from most attacks. Their fire breath is incredibly potent, so much that it's capable of melting steel. These dragons are also highly intelligent, capable of racking up valuable combat experience over their long life, given that they don't get killed. And in this episode, it just so happens that Vhagar is in fact one of the most experienced dragons in this franchise.
Are you kidding me? That thing is gonna prosper. It's gonna eliminate the entire ecosystem of Skull Island. It's freaking huge. How is this?
To come up with a fair and accurate
How is this a
on
question?
Whether or not she can survive this island, we'll give a more detailed rundown of her abilities and physical traits before she arrives on Skull Island. We don't have much time left. She's closing in quite fast. Vhagar, at the time during the events depicted in the book Fire and Blood or HBO's hit series House of the Dragon, was the largest dragon left alive. In her early years, she was part of a powerful trio of dragons who conquered a part of the world known as Westeros. Being the smallest of those three dragons at the time, Vhagar gained valuable experience fighting alongside another large dragon known as Meraxus and the notorious Balerion the Black Dread. After the death of the other two dragons, Vhagar remained the largest dragon during the events of Fire and Blood. How big was she? Well, estimates are all over, but the word from the VFX artist did imply that the wingspan of this animal was 150 meters wide, proportionally putting her entire body length more or less at 90 meters.
Well bigger than Godzilla.
For reference, her wingspan, that is, fully extended, would actually surpass the entire height of legendary Godzilla.
That's what I was thinking.
As we can see, Vhagar is actually no pushover. This is without mentioning her other abilities, also present in the rest of the dragons in this franchise.
Okay, but Rodan can fly Mach 3.5 times the speed of sound. Would she even see him coming?
To begin, all of these dragons based on their anatomy would technically be considered wyverns, given that they only have 2 legs, have pointy tails, and use their wings for both air and ground locomotion. They grow indefinitely, meaning that as long as they are alive, they'll continue to grow, depending on other factors as well, such as where they are kept, if they are fed well, etc. Vhagar, in this case, was a dragon that did live a very long time, more than 180 years.
That's not that long.
Not all dragons got to live this long, most of which would get killed in combat. Lastly, we must mention the obvious: fire. That's right, in this universe, fire is one of the most feared weapons of all, wielded by all dragons, but Vhagar's fire was probably one of the worst, known to incinerate entire cities and hot enough to melt armor and even stone. And oh, looks like Vhagar is just arriving.
Oh, damn.
Okay, so, like every other living creature, as soon as an animal moves into a new unknown territory, their objective is to try to settle in as well as possible. As seen in our previous episode discussing the Night Fury in Skull Island, Vhagar will also try to meet her base biological needs as quickly as possible. This includes breathable air, water, food, stable body temperature, and shelter. Fortunately for an airborne creature like Vhagar, she has the advantage of flight. Here's a good time to emphasize another characteristic of the dragons from this universe. They are exceptionally smart. Some may argue a little too smart. But put simply, these animals are very good problem solvers, have a very good memory, form deep bonds with their riders, and are able to connect with them emotionally. Many of them have their own personalities, and younger dragons are usually the reckless ones that get killed rather quickly. Vhagar in this case has enough experience to make the right decisions as soon as she enters this territory.
The freaking dragon lore behind this show sounds crazy as all hell. I'm not gonna doubt that. I should absolutely watch it one day. They're hyping me up a bit, but I tried watching it before and it was weird, dude. It was weird.
During her earlier years, she would have been introduced to the concept of scouting enemy territory. First flying very high to look down at enemy defenses, their position on the map, and waiting for the right time to engage in combat. And listening to her rider if the odds are in her favor.
I think it was that dude. That dude weirded me out.
Still, in this scenario, Vhagar will be flying high to scout the entirety of this island, taking note of different types of terrain, any predators of note big enough to be seen from high altitudes, where water sources are, identifying prey animals, and figuring out what to avoid.
See, but is Kong
will she
there?
meet any resistance in the air? Well, she just might. Enjoying this episode? Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to not miss any cool breakdowns, size comparisons, what-if scenarios like this one, and the upcoming face-off.
That raptor popping was
check out
sick.
Our merch store too.
Ooh.
There's no such thing as safe on this island. The words borrowed from Dr. Grant would be better applied here, but also apply in the skies surrounding this place. Up here, we find one type of creature that will probably, at best, be a serious nuisance to Vhagar: Psycho Vultures. These animals are more or less the drug addicts of Skull Island, ingesting the toxic properties of a certain type of pufferfish, instigating a crazy killing spree using their sharp claws, razor-sharp teeth.
I did not know they were all high as hell during this whole thing.
These tend to fly alongside a few individuals, anywhere from 3 up to a dozen, maybe more. Vhagar will inevitably run into a flock of these psychos and get zapped in the process. But will this bring her down? No. Remember, an animal this large is too big to be brought down by a few psycho vultures spitting small electrical currents. Will they attack an animal larger than itself? Yes, during the events of Kingdom Kong, this guy was attacked by a flock of these animals. So it's safe to assume that Psycho Vultures will also foolishly attack
I think
Vhagar.
Kong could kill that dragon.
Foolishly, because as soon as she feels the first zap, she'll unleash a flame so big and hot that it will be capable of turning all of these animals into ashes in midair. Any surviving Psycho Vultures will fly away and never mess with Vhagar again. We'd like to think that it won't take long for Vhagar to find a place to nest in Skull Island, landing in the high elevation areas where she can have a good view of what's going on in her surroundings. Next, she'll try to find food. In the TV series, we see that dragons are known to eat livestock mostly. When that's scarce, they'll then resort to eating other supplements. This affinity to livestock will be satisfied with the presence of more or less similar animals, such as the cervids that dwell on this island. But a more proper meal that will meet this dragon's high caloric needs will be something like a skur buffalo.
Oh, that's the perfect food source.
Vhagar will only need to hover above one of these creatures and blast fire hot enough to kill and cook this animal alive.
What a horrible way to die.
Would flee and leave this colossal animal alone while she eats. So far, it seems like this animal is settling in pretty well. Animals like Mother Longlegs, Icarus Tiger, Death Jackals, Juvenile Skullcrawlers, and Gigacrocs are really no match for an animal that measures around 90 meters in length and can dispatch them easily by just burping fire. If
she's
for
too
whatever reason,
overpowered
an animal like
for
the
Skull
Mother
Island.
Longlegs decided to swarm this dragon, they'd be risking not only their own lives, but the lives of other species as well. She hates being bothered and is seen to lose her temper quickly. So upon realizing that they are more or less hard to see in the bamboo forests, she'll likely light up the entire area, killing them all at once and any other creatures in this forest. Are there any other animals that will hinder Vhagar from meeting her base needs? Let's talk about water. Skull Island is notorious for having plenty of creatures that blend in seamlessly with their surroundings, a couple of which live in fresh water. Siren jaw crocodiles are huge animals that ambush unsuspecting prey when they get near. Another one, known as the swamp locust, uses its tree-like limbs to ensnare prey. However, we are not talking about a small animal here.
There's nothing that would stand a chance except Kong.
One of the largest skulls in the series. Any foolish siren jaw that dares attack a creature this large will probably be able to bite the head to no avail, only to find itself turned into roast crock soup, with the rest of the lake inhabitants as the sides.
Fire breath is just overpowered.
Any species of animal that unsuccessfully attacks Vhagar will end up writing itself in this creature's menu. To be fair, however, not every animal in Skull Island is this stupid. Let's be real. Just like in the real world, seeing how lions won't attack a fully grown elephant, most Skull Island creatures would simply try to avoid Vhagar, lest they get roasted. But there are some animals that will eventually cause some serious trouble.
SkullCrawlers for sure.
There are 3 that we will discuss in this episode, and 1 you won't even see coming.
Kong is gonna kill this thing, right? There's no way. I haven't seen the show, but I mean, come on.
We'll start with Ramarak. That's right.
I think the fire would finish off Ramarak.
What would happen if this animal ran into Vhagar? Realistically speaking, given that Vhagar will either spend most of her time on high altitudes, that being flying, or in her high-perched nest, it's likely that she'll be able to see any of these 3 first before she engages in
I feel like it would
combat.
ambush the dragon
Up here,
when
she'll be able
she's
to assess
eating.
the threat and even figure out what to do if one of these decides to come chasing after her. Vhagar is not stupid either. Neither is she a troublemaker. In the Song of Ice and Fire series, these dragons pretty much coexist with humans, to some degree. The wild dragons with outriders never seek to wipe out all humanity and usually keep to themselves. Vhagar is no different, and most likely will not instigate any of these fights unless provoked. A fight between these 2 would be started by Ramarak, but since he can't fly, it would have to be Vhagar who must oblige. If for whatever reason she determines that Ramarak must die, she'd simply fly low enough to unleash a flaming inferno that will envelop Ramarak and critically injure him. Even if the Skull Devil uses its leaping ability and releases his tongue to try and reach the dragon, this fire would have been released anyways. Vhagar by no means will risk engaging in a purely melee confrontation.
So she just sky camps the entire time? That doesn't sound very hardcore.
Wouldn't exactly be fair, since we're talking about an airborne animal with fire ability against a terrestrial creature whose species isn't really fire resistant. Without a real way to ambush Vhagar, it seems like Ramarak isn't really going to be a problem.
I feel like Kong is gonna spear that lizard out of the sky.
Well, this one is interesting, and will likely not go the way you want it to.
What?
Those Monsterverse fans among you know for a fact that Kong isn't necessarily a troublemaker either. In Skull Island, he detests those who kill for no reason, he hates skullcrawlers, but understands that all animals need to eat. And
Bro's absolutely a trouble starter later on though. Bro jumped into the ocean to fight Godzilla without any knowledge of how to swim. He didn't give a crap, dude. He was just gonna punch that lizard in the face.
being a meat eater himself, he'll only eat what's necessary. Vhagar is
or his
more
enemies'
or less the
heads,
same, actually. But will they have any form of conflict? To be more clear and make this easy to imagine, we can discuss what happens if Vhagar pulls up to Skull Island in 1973 and in the year 2019.
Dude, Kong gets pissed when skullcrawlers fight or kill. I guess they didn't even eat the skyr buffalo. They did. They were eating that skyr buffalo, and Kong got pissed off. I feel like he gets pissed off when anything just like disrupts the ecosystem. Basically, I feel like there'd be beef.
In these 2 scenarios, we have Kong, who is 104 feet in height, and 2019, where he's in the 330-plus foot range. Teenager Kong in 1973, upon seeing Vhagar, realizes that this animal is better left alone, as long as it doesn't cause any trouble, such as bombing the place for no real apparent reason.
He just said that he would burn the bamboo forest down just to squeeze out the mother long legs. I'm stuttering because I drink too much caffeine. But basically, burning down a forest, I feel like would qualify for disrupting the ecosystem.
These 2 animals standing next to each other would look like an interesting fight.
He would beat the crap out of that dragon, bro.
And adult forms isn't really the most fireproof, but this guy is pretty good at using tools, spears especially. And considering that this sort of projectile has been the most effective man-made anti-dragon solution in the series, one well-placed hit to this slow-moving dragon will potentially result in a critical injury.
That's what I'm saying.
Full-grown adult Kong in 2019 would prove even more dangerous, dwarfing Vhagar in size and strength. One hit with a projectile such as this one is instant death. Likewise, one Inferno Blast, such as this one to the adolescent one, is likely the equivalent of a 3rd-degree burn for this Kong, leaving him critically injured, if not killed. But will this even happen? No.
I feel like if that thing was dive bombing Kong, he'd roll out of the way. If he could evade Godzilla's atomic breath for the majority of the beam, he could easily dodge some fire.
Both animals would likely stay out of each other's way.
No.
Both are intelligent creatures and will more likely than not learn to respect each other's boundaries. And over time, even develop some sort of symbiotic dynamic between them.
Kong does not respect boundaries, bro. He is the king. His way is law. Respect boundaries. Communism.
Since they are both emotional creatures who understand gestures, feelings, and are both not necessarily mindless killers.
Maybe it's because
This
I haven't watched the
interaction
show. I don't know
between
what's
both
going
creatures
on.
Can be a topic of its own. But now that
Yeah, but you said he was gonna burn down bamboo forest because he was pissed off at a mother longlegs killing everything in its way. That's not a calm, peaceful, rational, smart creature that Kong would get along with. I don't see this happening.
we determined that this isn't really a plausible conflict, let's talk about an animal that will definitely be a serious problem.
Oh, it's
The animal
plausible.
that we're about to discuss isn't really the most popular creature in the Monsterverse.
Brie
Not
Larson?
the strongest megafauna, but one that will potentially cause a serious problem to Vhagar. The Killer Chameleon.
Meh.
One? No, a whole pack of them. Let us explain.
Meh.
These animals aren't the largest next to Vhagar herself. The real strength of these creatures is their agility and bite. But you may be thinking, how can these creatures reach Vhagar if she's way up high in the air? Good thinking. We'll have you know about a third ability. The notorious long, elastic, ballistic tongue present in real-life chameleons alive today. Here's where we'll have our issue.
You just said if the SkullCrawler did that to the dragon, then it would cook them. Now elongated tongues are all the jazz?
If Vhagar ever gets too close to these well-camouflaged mega chameleons, these would all either leap or use their long tongues to grip onto the body of Vhagar, making her lose her balance and be brought down. Because this isn't a single animal, Vhagar would be facing formidable, agile foes on many fronts. Even if she does manage to roast one of them, the remaining chameleons would have enough time to leap and gore into this animal. The outcome depends
She really
on
isn't
who
that
sees
big.
who first. Given that Vhagar is known to be a notoriously good ambusher, to make up for its slow speed, it's likely that she would in fact be the first to see these anyways. If she doesn't, then she risks being brought down by a pack of these reptiles. So, to answer the question, will Vhagar survive this place? The answer, yes. In fact, she'll fit right in. Her characteristics will allow her to more or less coexist with Kong, and whenever food becomes scarce, she'd simply find a new home.
Her characteristics of burning down entire ecosystems when something pisses her off? Yeah, that's Kong loves that.
There are very few animals here that would pose a serious threat. Titans such as Kamazots wouldn't really be a problem, since he only dwells in very dark
I think she'd wreck
environments.
Kamazots for
Furthermore,
sure.
It's likely that the experienced dragons from this series, such as Vermithor, Meraxus, and Balerion, would likely fit right in on this island as well.
Well, I disagree. With all due respect to Goji Center, a legendary channel that knows its stuff through and through. I've never even seen the TV show, so I'm literally talking directly out of my butt cheeks right now. I just know that Kong generally gets pissed off when a new thing, like, he gets pissed off when SkullCrawlers kill stuff, and they live there. So, like, some other thing coming in, disrupting the ecosystem, burning down forests, that kind of, I don't see a friendship developing. And it's not even like Kong's too smart to pick fights he can't win either. Kong died to Godzilla, and then immediately got up and almost went back to him. Right after dying, bro, resurrected from the death, and didn't learn a single lesson. Because when he's pissed, like the king, when he's pissed, he's got to take his victim, you know? Even if he keeps dying over and over again, he's just dedicated. So I don't know. I disagree with a lot of this stuff. I think they wouldn't get along for a lot of reasons. I think he'd freaking spear that thing out of the sky with a tree and then choke it out, or just something crazy. I don't know. I drank too much damn caffeine before making this video. Either way, it was still a cool video. I should watch this show. I probably won't, but I should. You know what? If this video gets like 4,000 likes, then I will. I'll let the people decide. So yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.